Friends, this lecture is devoted to analyzing univariate data. In the last lecture, we delved on construction of scales for measuring a social phenomenon and exploring its reliability and validity. Now, once the data have been collected, we look for its analysis. Analysis involves analysis of single variables and analysis of two or more variables together for examining relationships between them. In this first lecture on analysis, I will be talking about analyzing univariate data. That means there is only one variable for analysis, and we are sort of summarizing various properties of distribution of the data. So, data collection is followed by analysis, and the purpose of analysis in case of single variables would be summarizing data. In census, we collect information from more than 1 billion people, and if somebody wants to know say migration pattern of Indian population, you will not give individual figures for more than 1 billion people. You will say that the percentage of respondents reported as migrants is this. So, you are summarizing data. In family health survey, I often quote, you have collected data from more than 70,000 women on fertility, mortality, wealth, nutrition, domestic violence and so on. Now, you will not if somebody asks for data on fertility, you will not say that that the number of children born by different women is like this. You will not produce more than 70,000 figures for all the women in the sample. Rather, you would say that average fertility in this year or in the reference period is this. So, this averaging is summarizing data, but in addition to averaging, you also do many other things and we will look at them. And we analyze data as per the objectives of the study, then we draw inference in case the sample data are to be analyzed. We make some hypotheses regarding averages and variances and other properties of distribution and test them. Summarizing data usually takes the form of calculating measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion, measures of skewness and measures of kurtosis. Central tendency means some kind of average or a value around which all other values of the variable are concentrated. So, this is true that out of 70,000 women in the sample, some will have children 0, some 1, some 2, some 3, some may have 12 or 13. But there is some figure say around 2 or 3, some figure around which most of the values are found. That is central tendency, one single or representative value. I would say one representative value, one single value which represents the data set. Averages are quite important. We compare patterns of different societies, countries in terms of these averages. So, we may say that average number of children among women of certain age groups, say 45 plus in India is around 2.5, and in a typically Western European countries or industrially advanced countries is 1.2. So, calculation of averages makes our job easy to compare patterns between societies and then relate them to other characteristics of society. Dispersion tells us about the variability in the data. So, when I say that average is 2.5, it does not mean obviously that all the values are 2.5, some are 0, some are 12. to what extent do these values, empirical values, observed values differ from the mean? That is the property that the measure of dispersion reveals. Skewness refers to another property of distribution of figures, and that is whether the data are symmetrically distributed around mean or not. Sometimes data are symmetrically distributed, sometimes there are a few number of cases with very large values or very low values which make the data asymmetrical, that is skewness. And there is property of kurtosis. In kurtosis we compare our actual distribution with a theoretical distribution called normal distribution. I think all of you have somewhere or the other read about normal distribution. We will also talk about that sometime. All these measures, central tendency, dispersion, skewness, kurtosis, can also be expressed in the form of moments. This mu r is called moment of the distribution, and there are several moments, first moment, second moment, third moment, r may be 1, in this mu r, r may be 1, 2, 3, 4. The first moment about mean is 0, because that is sigma f, f for frequency of variable taking a value x I, and a m is arithmetic mean, r is 1. So, sigma f I x I minus arithmetic mean will be 0, and therefore, mu 1 is 0. But mu 1 r equal to 1 around 0 means sigma f I x I upon n, that becomes the arithmetic mean. So, first moment around 0 represents arithmetic mean. Second moment, if you write r equal to 2 and do not make any other change in the formula, then it becomes the variance. If you put r equal to 3, it becomes a measure of skewness. If you put r equal to 4, it becomes kurtosis, and in this way you can also calculate higher order moments, mu 5, mu 6, but generally it is the first 4 moments which are of concern to empirical scientists in social sciences, not the higher order moments. Interpretation of higher order moments becomes more difficult. Moments are calculated for raw data, for frequency data, for probability distributions. Probability distributions also have a corresponding moment generating function which produces moments, and the suggested measures are in common use, but depending on your need, you may also construct your own measures to characterize mean, dispersion, etc. Let us take them as concepts, and if mean is calculated as arithmetic mean, it is not necessary that in your research you also use the same formula and calculate arithmetic mean. You can calculate some other mean. So, you must give more importance to concept, and you can evolve your own formulae, you can make your own measures, but you have to justify why. The first and foremost measure of central tendency is arithmetic mean, which is defined as mean equal to sigma f into x. I will illustrate computation of arithmetic mean and other means with the help of empirical data. Right now, take it to be m x equal to sigma f into x divided by sigma f, where f is the frequency, x is the value of the variable. If you are dealing with raw data, then you can simply calculate arithmetic mean as sigma x, means add all the values of x and divide by total number of cases. If you have frequency data, then it is sigma f into x divided by sigma f. This is a unitary measure of central tendency of data. You can also calculate weighted mean of variable values, replace f by a weight w. If there are values x 1, x 2, x 3, x 4 and you want to assign different weights to them w 1, w 2, w 3, then the weighted mean becomes sigma w into x divided by sigma w. Arithmetic mean is most commonly used as a measure of central tendency, because it is simple to understand. You are only adding all the observations and dividing by total number of cases, easy to communicate, anybody can understand what this is. Second and very important consideration is that probability distribution of arithmetic mean is very well known. Other measures of central tendency like geometric mean or harmonic mean will have more complicated and only asymptotic approximate distributions, and from that point of view arithmetic mean is more desirable than other means. It is an unbiased estimate, means if unbiased in the sense that if you have all possible samples from the population and arithmetic mean is obtained for each sample, then mean of the arithmetic means of all the samples will be same as the population mean. So, sample mean may differ from population mean, but it has a tendency to be concentrated around population mean. And calculation of arithmetic mean requires data on interval scale. It does not require data on ratio scale, but you cannot calculate arithmetic mean meaningfully for nominal or ordinal scales. There are some limits of this. Arithmetic mean is biased towards upper extremes. Weighted mean depends on the selection of weights. Summing or averaging of values of variables having different standard deviations can lead to misleading results. So, when we are calculating averages of different indicators, the values of those indicators are standardized first. I will explain what standardization means, and we have seen reference to this in computation of human development index in the first lecture. Human development index is based on certain considerations or indicators like health, income and education. While life expectancy as a measure of health varies from 0 to say around 80, years of education can vary from 0 to maximum say 20 or 21. So, we have to standardize them, otherwise if standard deviations of different measures are different, then the combined measure may be more influenced by one or two indicators and not by all the indicators equally. So, we standardize our indicator values and go for average of standardized scores. I calculate standardized scores when I give several quizzes and exams, mid-sem exam, end-sem exam in a course. So, it is possible and most of the time this happens that the standard deviations of marks in quizzes and mid-sem and end-sem are not same. So, I first standardize students' marks in different quizzes and exams and then take the sum of that or take the average of that. Without standardization, averaging is not so meaningful. Median, this is another measure of central tendency, and median along with median you can also talk of quartiles and percentiles. Median is the middlemost value in the data. It can be defined as a value may be present in the data, may be not present in the data, beyond which 50% and below which 50% values lie. To get the median, you may arrange your data in ascending or descending order and find out the middlemost value. That middlemost value, or if there are two values in the middle, then average of the two middle values, that becomes median. It is more appropriate for ordinal data, though you can calculate median for ratio or interval scales also, but median is more appropriate when dealing with ranks and ratings. orders, ordinal data. The corresponding measure of variability is quartile deviation. What is quartile deviation? Median divides the data set into two parts, two equal parts, 50% below the median, 50% above the median. Quartiles, there are three quartiles, Q1, Q2, Q3, and they divide data into four equal parts. So, Q1 is a value below which 25% and above which 75% values lie. Q2 is same as median, and Q3 is that value below which 75% and above which 25% values lie. Quartile deviation is defined as half of the difference between Q3 and Q1, third quartile and first quartile. This figure shows the position of median. This is the cumulative distribution of a variable. Cumulative percentages are shown from 0 to 100, and there is a value slightly below 165, which is such that half of the values of the data set are below it and half of them are above it, because 25 is half of 50. So, there are nearly 25 values below this value, which is close to 165, maybe 164. So, there are 25 cases below 164 and 25 cases above 164. So, 164 becomes the median of the distribution. For normal populations, the median or symmetrical populations in general, median is also a good and unbiased estimator of population mean, but its standard deviation is about 25.3% higher than that of mean. What does it mean? It means that if you calculate standard deviation of medians of all possible samples, that will be 25.3% higher. That will be a higher value than the same thing, standard deviation of mean. So, median is considered to be less efficient than mean. For non-normal distributions, it is difficult to calculate standard error of median, and therefore, in most cases arithmetic mean is preferred over median. The third measure of central tendency is geometric mean. Geometric mean is calculated as nth root. N is the sample size, total number of cases. Geometric mean is defined as nth root of the product of all the values. If you are dealing with raw data, just multiply all the values and take nth root. If you have frequency data, then you can write product of xi raised to power fi. Fi is frequency of xi. It is less used in sociology, more in economics. It is used in construction of index number, that is why more in economics, and its bias towards lower extremes. This is a limitation of geometric mean, but sometimes this limitation also becomes the merit of geometric mean. That geometric mean, while arithmetic mean is biased towards higher values, upper extremes, geometric mean is biased towards lower extremes. It has a very complex probability distribution and is difficult to compute and communicate. The fifth commonly used measure of central tendency is harmonic mean. It is generally computed for rates and less used in sociology. As compared to geometric mean, it is more biased. Geometric mean is biased towards lower values. Harmonic mean is more biased towards lower values. As a rule, arithmetic mean of all the distributions is higher than geometric mean, and geometric mean is higher than harmonic mean. It is used in computation of gender sensitive index of development, etc. You see, development index is based on certain considerations. Just now I mentioned it is income, it is education, it is health. and if you want to construct a gender sensitive index of development, then first you standardize all these indicators of income, health and education, and then take some kind of average. Usually geometric mean may be taken, because geometric mean is biased towards lower values. So it will give a lower value for all those countries or states or regions where the lowest value is lower. That means it is more sensitive to backwardness. If you calculate arithmetic mean of standardized scores, that will become more sensitive to development, but geometric mean will be more sensitive to what extent countries or regions are lagging behind. Imagine that you construct a human development index as geometric mean of different measures separately for males and females, and then you want to create a gender sensitive index of development, which not only shows the state of development of society, but also to what extent women are empowered. So, there you can calculate harmonic mean. Why? Because in those countries at similar levels of development, if women are lagging behind, so the harmonic mean will show a lower figure. Harmonic mean is more sensitive than geometric mean to lower figures, lower extremes, and countries where women have not done as well as in other countries, their harmonic mean of development indicators created separately for males and females will be lower. That is why in I used to wonder, why do we talk about geometric mean and harmonic mean? Most of the time in sociology we calculate only arithmetic mean. Then I found literature on development, and the technical notes on UNDP's measures of development show very clearly that in certain cases use of geometric mean or harmonic mean will produce more meaningful results than the use of arithmetic mean. And now I have started giving the example of human development index to show that geometric mean and harmonic mean are also important, and in some situations better than arithmetic mean. In addition to AM, GM and HM, there are and median, there is one more measure of central tendency. It is called mode. Mode means the most frequent value. If this blue color, this distribution show the frequency distribution of a variable, then the point of peak, this point or this value of x for which frequency is maximum is called the mode. In other words, the most frequent value present in the data set is mode. But sometimes in computation of mode we may have problems if the data are multimodal. Some distributions have two or more modes. For example, this red color frequency distribution has two modes. One mode is here. So, corresponding to this value of x is one mode, first mode, but there is another value of x which is the second mode, and at this point also we find a peak. So, there are two peaks, 1 and 2, and therefore, this distribution has two modes. This is about central tendency. Now, we come to measures of dispersion or variance. Variance is defined as mean of squares of deviation of raw values from the mean. Actually, we are looking for to what extent values differ from mean. Now, one thing you can do, take the differences of values from mean and take their average, sum them up or take their average. But if you do so, you will get a value 0, because some deviations are negative, some are positive. In order to handle this problem of some deviations being positive, some negative, there are several options. Either you take absolute deviation and you arrive at mean deviation from mean, or you square the deviations, add them, divide by n, and that becomes variance. A square root of variance is called standard deviation. Variance is used in analysis of variance, in causal analysis, whether a variable x is a cause of y, but right now we are not discussing bivariate or multivariate relationships, we are only talking about univariate analysis. So, variance can be computed in this way for each variable. Variance is very important. For causal analysis in social sciences, you always depend on variances and covariances and variance covariance matrix. This is how variance sigma square is represented. Sigma square is sigma x, value of x variable, minus mu, mean of the distribution, mean of the variable, square and divide by n. This is average of squares of differences of values from their respective mean. This algebraic modification simply shows that you can calculate variance as sigma x square by n minus mu square, mu is the mean, x square is square of the variable values. But as a definition of sigma square, I think this is important, because this is also simple to understand what is done behind computation of variance. We are looking for a measure of to what extent our variable values are spread. Mean is representative of the distribution, one single representative, but all the values are not close to that representative value. To what extent they differ from this, and for that we calculate variance, x minus sigma x minus mu whole square divided by n. Other measures of dispersion which are commonly used are range. Range means the difference between the highest value and the lowest value. Mean deviation from mean. I was telling that one way of handling the problem that some deviations from mean are positive, some are negative. You can calculate mean deviation in the following manner, that forget about minus plus signs of difference between variable values and mean, and add them and divide by n. So, this becomes average of absolute deviations from the respective mean of the distribution. The difference is that the difference between this and variance is that in place of this absolute sign, in variance you have a bracket, a parenthesis, and then a square of that. That is another way of converting negative numbers into positive ones. But then the dimensions of variance would be different than dimension of absolute deviation from mean. The mean deviation from mean will have the same dimension as the dimension of the variable, but variance will have a different dimension. That is why we calculate standard deviation as square root of variance, so that we have a measure of variation which has same dimension as that of variable. We also have quartile deviation, third quartile minus first quartile divided by 2. Now, since for distributions with different means, the amount of standard deviation may not be comparable. Imagine that sigma for one distribution in which mean is 10 is 2.3, and there is another distribution in which mean is 100, but sigma is same as 2.3. Can we say that a variability of 2.3 in case of mean 10 and in case of mean 100 amounts to the same degree of variability. No, when mean is 100, small differences as of 2.3 are not so important, but when mean is 10, then difference of 2.3 from mean is quite important. So, for comparing different distributions with different means, you may also calculate coefficient of variation, which is defined as sigma standard deviation divided by mu multiplied by 100. Some people do not multiply sigma by 100. Yeah. Then after central tendency and variability or variance or dispersion, the third property of a distribution is skewness. This is a measure of asymmetry around mean. Income data are usually skewed, and therefore, we take economists dealing with income data use logarithm of raw values. In Human Development Index also I pointed it out that while other variables are standardized as such, in case of income we standardize log of income, not income as such. Log of income follows a more symmetrical kind of distribution, a normal distribution, while the distribution of income as such may be highly and positively skewed. Later on you will see that some distribution like normal and t are symmetrical, and some distributions like chi-square are skewed, and we as arithmetic mean, geometric mean, we also need a measure of skewness. Generally, if the distribution of data is skewed to the left, it may be skewed to the left or it may be skewed to the right. Look at these three figures. This is the example of a symmetrical distribution. On right hand side of this point, you just have a replica or a mirror image of the distribution on the left side. But this distribution has a longer tail towards left hand side. Such distributions are called negatively skewed distribution, and these distributions in which you have a longer tail towards right hand side, they are called positively skewed distributions. Generally, if the distribution is skewed to the left, the mean is less than the median, which is less than the mode, and if the distribution is skewed to the right, the mode is less than median, which is less than mean. On this basis, we calculate a coefficient of skewness. Pearson's coefficient of skewness is defined as mean minus mode divided by sigma, which is roughly equivalent to 3 times mean minus median divided by sigma. Actually, I will say that there are two aspects of coefficient of skewness. One is the sign, whether you have negative sign or positive sign. If mean is more than mode, then you have a positive sign, and if mean is less than mode, you have negative sign. Positive means positive skewness or a longer tail towards right hand side, and negative skewness means in longer tail towards left hand side. And another aspect is the quantity, amount, value of coefficient, absolute value of coefficient of skewness, which tells us to what extent is the distribution skewed. Skewness may also be computed from quartiles, like third quartile minus 2 times second quartile, or median plus first quartile divided by the difference between first and third quartile. There are many other ways also of defining coefficient of skewness. In terms theoretical literature or in mathematical statistics, moments are used to define skewness, and then another property, kurtosis. Coefficient of skewness is mu 3 divided by mu 2 raised to power 3 by 2, where mu r is sigma f I multiplied by x I minus arithmetic mean raised to power r divided by n. So, if you as I explained, if you put r equal to 2, it becomes variance. If you put r equal to 2, it becomes a measure of skewness. If you put r equal to 4, it becomes a measure of kurtosis. Let me repeat, if you put r equal to 2, then it becomes a measure of variance. If you put r equal to 3, then it becomes a measure of skewness. and if you put r equal to 4, it becomes a measure of kurtosis. If you put r equal to 1, then the value of mu 1 will be 0, but if in place of am you use 0, then mu 1 will be arithmetic mean, then it reduces to sigma fi xi divided by n, which is arithmetic mean. So, coefficient of skewness may be calculated like this, mu 3 divided by mu 2 raised to power 3 by 2. The fourth and important property of empirical and theoretical distributions is kurtosis. Kurtosis is the measure of peakedness of distribution. A distribution may be called mesokurtic, platykurtic and leptokurtic. Normal distribution in statistics is considered to be mesokurtic. Mesokurtic means kurtosis is at the middle level, and a distribution which is more flat type as compared to a normal distribution is called platykurtic, and a distribution which is more peaked as compared to a normal distribution is called leptokurtic distribution. I used to wonder for several years after doing courses in statistics, I did not know why do we calculate these things. Skewness I understood, that skewness is a property of symmetry or asymmetry. Why do we calculate peakedness or kurtosis of the distribution? And only later, while working with empirical data, I realized that kurtosis helps in identifying outliers in the data. Outliers means that there are some values which do not look typical values of the distribution. Suppose number of children 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, but you also find one value as 140. Now, 140 is an outlier. Nobody can have 140 children. Perhaps the number of children was 14, and by mistake the interviewer, the researcher, put a 0 after 4 while filling the questionnaire, or while making the computer entry you may make a mistake. In place of entering 14 in your Excel sheet or SPSS sheet, you may enter 140. This is an outlier. The purpose of computing kurtosis is to identify outliers, and once outliers are identified, then you may do your statistical analysis in two ways, by including outliers and by excluding outliers. Research papers usually publish analysis with and without outliers. You know why with outliers? Because in some cases outliers may be real. It is possible that you are examining income in a population most of which lives in slum. Since they are all slum dwellers, their income is low, but maybe in the locality which is your part of target population, there is also a millionaire, which raises the average level of income of the community. Should we include the millionaire if it is part of target population, the same geographical community, or not include? It is like deciding whether to include outliers or not to include outliers. Some researchers therefore prefer to conduct their exercise when they will calculate correlation, ANOVA or MANOVA or MANCOVA factor analysis. They will do exercises with and without outliers, and it is for the readers to choose which results are more meaningful. In case of outliers, sometimes we can just remove outliers from the data, means alpha percent, 1%, 5%, 10% from both the sides. This is called trimming, or replace outliers by neighboring values, which is called Winsorization. Winsorization may be resorted to once, twice, thrice, and this is called order of Winsorization. This is an example of highly kurtic distribution. This is a normal distribution, this red, and blue colored distribution is a highly quartic distribution or leptoquartic. Now, what I am referring to outliers, in this leptoquartic distribution, majority of values are concentrated around the mean value. Okay, this is the mean value, and most values are concentrated here. If there is a value here, this or there are two or more values here, they seem to be outliers. So, if a distribution is leptoquartic, you can identify cases of outliers on both the sides of one side and resort to trimming or Winsorization. In case of platyquartic, this is platyquartic distribution. Red color is again normal distribution or mesoquartic distribution. Blue is a platyquartic distribution. Now, you see in platyquartic distribution, frequencies or probabilities of all the values from low to high are more or less same. Then a low value here or a high value here cannot be called outliers. So, outliers are detected or outliers are identified for data which are symmetric, but which are leptoquartic, highly quartic distribution. If it is less quartic, then the question of identifying outliers does not arise. In terms of moments, coefficient of kurtosis is computed as mu 4 divided by mu 2 raised to power 2, mu 2 square minus 3. Actually, this minus 3 has a significance. It is that if you calculate mu 4 by mu 2 square for a normal distribution or mesoquartic distribution, you will get a value of 3. So, by subtracting 3 from empirical values of mu 4 by mu 2 square, we are comparing this thing for empirical distribution with the same thing for a normal distribution. If it is more than 3, then the value of coefficient of kurtosis is positive, it means it is a leptoquartic distribution. If the overall value of this thing is negative, it means our distribution is less quartic than a normal distribution or is more flat type. So, in flat type, the issue of finding out outliers does not arise. Here is an example of calculation of mean, variance, skewness and kurtosis. In a hypothetical data set, these data show that there are 40 cases, sample size is 40, values are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And the frequencies are 1, 1, 6, 6, 11 and 15. Now, by looking at these figures and frequencies itself, I can imagine that the distribution is asymmetrical. It has a negative skewness, a long tail towards the left hand side. Let us see what the calculations show. For calculating arithmetic mean, we multiply these values x values by f values and get this column. Sum of f x values means total of 0, 1, 12, 18, 44 and 75 is 150. So, 150 divided by sample size 40, we get the arithmetic mean. This mean comes out to be 3.75. Now, to calculate variance etc., this 3.75, the arithmetic mean is subtracted from these values, and when you subtract 3.75 from these values, you get these values minus 3.75, minus 2.75. To calculate variance, you calculate frequency multiplied by square of value minus arithmetic mean. So, this column and sum of this is 67.5. This sum divided by the sample size 40 gives me the value of variance mu 2 8. To calculate skewness, I must multiply frequencies by cube of x minus a m, and these are the values. Their sum is minus 78.75, and this minus 78.75 divided by 40, that is mu 3, and mu 4 likewise frequency multiplied by x minus a m raised to power 4. The values are 197.75, 57.19 and other values. The sum of these values is 349.78. 349.78, 13 divided by 40 is mu 4. This is fourth moment around mean. Third moment around mean is mu 3. When we add the column of f into x minus mean cube, we get these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values, and some of them are positive, some of them are negative. The sum of all these values is minus 78.75. So, let me repeat that minus 78.75 divided by n equal to 40 gives me the value of mu 3. Mu 3, actually mu 3 is the measure of skewness. For preparing a coefficient, we calculate coefficient of skewness, but this mu 3 itself indicates whether you have skewed data or symmetrical data. Here mu 4, sum of these values is 349, all values are positive, and 349 divided by sample size 40, you get 8.7. This is mu 4. Mu 4 itself is indicative of kurtosis, but to arrive at coefficient of kurtosis, we divide this mu 4 by square of variance. This is variance, square of variance, and then take minus 3 to compare kurtosis of actual distribution with kurtosis of a normal distribution. So, here we have given the computations. Mean is 3.75, variance is 67.5 divided by 40, 1.68. Now, from variance you can compute standard deviation. Standard deviation is square root of variance, and square root of 1.6875 is 1.2990. This is standard deviation. Then coefficient of variation is this is standard deviation 1.2990 divided by 3.75, which is mean multiplied by 100. This is 34.64. Coefficient of skewness can be calculated in terms of moments or in terms of mean minus median or mean minus mode divided by sigma, and that in some books it is defined as mean minus median, some books mean minus mode. Carl Pearson's definition of coefficient of skewness has been mean minus mode, or 3 times mean minus median divided by sigma. So, you can choose any tradition if you use mean minus mean. The most important thing that it must show us the direction, whether the distribution is negatively skewed or positively skewed. Then you have skewness in terms of coefficient of skewness or moments, which comes out to be it is a negative. Mu 3 is negative, mu 2 is always positive, variance is always positive, its power 3 by 2 will also be positive. So, this is minus 78.75 divided by 40, whole thing divided by 67.5 divided by 40, and it is 0.14, but I did not write minus, but since this is mu 3 is minus. So, this value coefficient of skewness is negative. It can happen. You may note that coefficient of skewness defined in terms of mean minus median by sigma is a positive number. Mean is greater than median, it is a positive number. Defined in terms of coefficient of skewness, it is actually a negative number, because mu 3 is negative. So, what do we do? This will be a problem you will often encounter, that you study the same concept by using different techniques different methods and you get different results. Either you can produce both the results or you produce one result, but tell that by using other techniques, other methods, you got other results. You are depending more on this result because these are your theoretical or statistical reasons. The coefficient of kurtosis is 0.07 mu 4 by mu 2 square minus 3. These univariate analysis helps in developing complex indices. Like human development index, I have given you example of human development index. It is based on education, health and income, and the procedure is that first you decide, like UNDP, you may decide that development is indicated by education, health and income, or you may add some other variables. Actually UNDP itself has added many other variables. Then take specific measures of them, then standardize scores for each dimension, then decide how to combine them in one formula shown by me earlier. These standardized scores were combined by calculating geometric mean. Then if you want gender sensitive index, then you calculate development index separately for males and females, and you may take harmonic mean of the two. But it can be improved further. All formulae or measures can be improved further. You can evolve your own method. The procedure will be this, but you can include, say, along with education, health and income, you can include some other things like happiness score. But remember that you must have data on that aspect for all the countries or regions or states you are considering. Education, health, income data are available for all the countries. So, if you have some other data which are indicative of development, but and you also have access to data on them, then you can include in construction of human development index. Then specific measures for them. Education may be measured in terms of just literacy, illiteracy. It can be measured in terms of years of schooling. It can be measured in terms of levels of education. Again, you have to decide what measure of education to consider depending on availability of data for all the countries. Health can be measured in terms of life expectancy, but health can also be measured in terms of infant mortality. Health can be measured in terms of child mortality or simply crude death rates. Income can be measured in terms of income, household income, per capita income or log of income, and then you need specific measures for them therefore, and then standardize them. For standardization again there are so many techniques. The most commonly used technique is this x minus mu by sigma, actual value of the variable minus mean value divided by standard deviation. But there are many other ways of standardizing scores. It can be standard. If you have data on ranks, then you can take variable value minus median divided by quartile deviation. So, median will serve the same purpose as arithmetic mean for numeric data on interval scale or ratio scale data, and quartile deviation will serve the same purpose as sigma serves in this standardized score. So, there are different ways and you have to choose carefully. Some students think that statistics is mathematics and unchangeable, it is fixed, that there are some standard formulae and you have to use them as such. I say that statistics need to be used flexibly. There was no need for statistics, otherwise you have the discipline of mathematics. It is mathematics combined with social science knowledge or scientific knowledge, and there is lot of scope for subjectivity or for judgment or for interpretations on the part of researcher, you have to decide. There are so many things, later on you will see that in statistics there are so many things which you have to decide. This is another example of construction of development index. UNDP is human poverty index. Here the dimensions, this is defined as 1 by 4 and alpha th power of P1 raised to power alpha, P2 raised to power alpha, P3 raised to power alpha and P4 raised to power alpha. All these things are added. So, what are P1, P2, P3, P4? P1 is the probability of not surviving to age 60. This is one aspect of poverty. In poor countries, life expectancy low results in a lower probability of surviving to age 60. Then P2 is percentage of adults lacking functional literacy skills. This in a poor country, more people lack functional literacy. So, this how many people have functional literacy can be one measure of that, and percentage of population below income poverty. In poverty is measured in terms of poverty ratios, proportion of households below the poverty line, and P4 is long term unemployment, and on the basis of all this a measure is developed. You can evolve your own measures, but just be careful about the logic part of this. Is how univariate data are analyzed. Thank you.